As a cyclist and personal trainer, there's 6 key mistakes I notice other cyclists making in the gym, that rather than helping them improve their FTP and max power, as science tells us strength training does, actually results in them performing and feeling worse on the bike. Mistakes that could be making them heavier without getting any stronger or more powerful, tiring them out so they can't make the most or enjoy their riding, and generally just meaning that their gym work or strength work, wherever they do it, is just a bit counterproductive. Today let's go through these 6 key mistakes so you can avoid them, know what to do instead, and that will actually probably make your time in the gym or strength training, wherever you do it, a little bit more enjoyable. And spoiler alert, the last mistake we'll go through is probably the most costly of all, and the one I see 99% of cyclists making. Mistake number 1 though is really common too, and it's actually counterintuitive as a cyclist, and the mistake is doing a little bit too much when it comes to lower body or leg work. Let me explain. So as cyclists, I think we all probably assume that training lower body, whether that's doing strength work in the gym or training our legs on the bike, is going to improve our performance, our FTP, our max power. And it will do, but when it comes to gym or strength work, it's very easy to do too much. A lot of the gym and strength information out there is designed for bodybuilders who do a leg day and do lots of sets and reps of squats and leg extensions and all those sorts of things. And while it might be great for bodybuilders, it's not great for cyclists. It can impact our riding, meaning our legs are knackered for when we next get out on the bike. It can also mean that we're more sore. We can't perform and hit any numbers we need to hit during a session, and generally we just struggle to move around and do things like getting off the toilet. So the fix is we need to lower the volume. We need to attack our lower body work with purpose. And we need to spread our lower body and leg work over the week as opposed to doing it all on one day, meaning we're out of action for 5 days after. More on that in the next mistake though. So a good rule of thumb is to pick 2 lower body exercises per session. Complete 3 to 5 sets of each of these for 2 to 6 reps. This will help limit the soreness we have after a session. It will also lower the impact on our riding and actually improve our strength as opposed to just doing lots of reps and sets. To improve strength, we actually need to work in a lower rep range, so from 2 to 6 repetitions, which is what we need as cyclists on the bike. But as I just said, spreading leg work across the week can also be really beneficial. Let's look at mistake number 2, which is an incorrect training split. So for those of you that don't know, a training split is essentially what you're training on each session in the gym or wherever you do your strength training. So a bodybuilder, for example, might do legs on Monday, chest on Tuesday, arms on Wednesday, etc, etc. That doesn't really work for a cyclist because of what I've just gone through. We want our strength work, especially our lower body work, to impact our riding as little as possible while getting as much benefit from possible from the strength exercises we're doing. As cyclists, we also don't go to the gym as much as, say, a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder might go to the gym 5 or 6 times a week because that's their exercise, whereas as cyclists, we might go to the gym between 1 and 3 times a week, and we fit this in around our riding. So the fix here for cyclists is to do full body sessions whenever we hit the gym or wherever we do our strength work. So it doesn't matter whether you go to the gym or wherever you do your strength training 1 to 3 times a week, you're getting a nice well-rounded routine and hitting all areas of the body each time you train. Again, this means your lower body work's not impacting your riding. You also get some other benefits for training other areas of the body. And unlike just doing a leg day, for example, where you might do 4, 5, 6 exercises just focusing on legs, if you're doing 2 leg exercises in a session, it means you can attack them with a lot more effort because you're not knackered after having already done 5 or 6 exercises. You've evenly balanced your strength work, covering all areas of the body and all movements. Speaking of evenly balanced though, the next mistake is not including single leg variations in your strength training. If you think about cycling, that's essentially single leg work. If you have a dual-sided power meter, you might even be able to see the difference in power you're putting through the pedals on either side. So to help even that out and not make it any worse, we really need to look at including some single leg strength work into our routine. When it comes to lower body, if we just do exercises that focus on both legs together, such as squats or leg presses, we work both legs at the same time, and therefore one, which is the more dominant leg, can often kind of take over and get more benefit and stay a little bit ahead of the weaker leg. And that means your strength is always going to be a little bit unbalanced. Simple fix for this is, for example, if you're doing 4 lower body exercises per week, just make half of them single leg exercises. This might mean including things like lunges, split squats, single leg deadlifts or using one leg at a time on the leg press machine if you're in the gym. It's a pretty simple fix, but will have a huge impact on your performance on the bike since cycling is essentially single leg work. When it comes to picking exercises though, another massive mistake us cyclists make, and it's not really our fault because these things are in the media all the time, is doing too much core and ab work. There's so many articles out there in magazines and online telling us that core work is so important as a cyclist and giving us lots of exercises to try. And of course, having a strong core is important. It helps us transfer power to the bike, it helps us stay a little bit more stable, and it also helps reduce our risk of things like lower back injuries. And if it helps you get a six-pack, I think we're all in. But we often go about strengthening our core in the wrong way, doing hundreds of sit-ups, crunches, Russian twists, holding the plank for as long as we can. But to develop real core strength, our core also needs to be worked in that lower rep range, which really gives us some strength benefits. Of course, a little bit of independent core work is fine, but actually a lot of our core work will come from those bigger compound exercises we do. Those exercises that involve a lot of muscle groups, things like squats, lunges, and deadlifts. During those movements, our core will be having to keep our spine stable to help that transfer of force from the floor or our leg muscles to the bar or whatever it is we're using. And this will directly transfer over to keeping you stable on the bike. So don't necessarily do away with all of your independent core work, especially if you love doing things like crunches, sit-ups and planks. But just be aware that your core is definitely going to be working throughout a lot of the other bigger exercises that you're doing. Mistake number 5 though, and the penultimate mistake before we get to the big one at the end, is just generally not having a plan and therefore not progressively overloading as you improve. Having a plan is so important because it allows you to quantify what you're doing and will also help provide you with motivation and momentum because you can see what you're doing is actually having an impact. It also means you're not aimlessly wandering around the gym or wherever you do your strength training, wondering what to do next or just hopping on the next thing that's free. And to get stronger and therefore improve your performance on the bike, we need to be progressively making things harder from week to week. And you can't do that if you don't know what you did last week. Once your body has adapted to any given stimulus, you need to increase it or make things a little bit harder to keep it progressing. It's like your cycling training zones, for example. Once your FTP has increased, your zones will therefore increase as well. It's exactly the same with strength training. So have some kind of plan. What exercises are you doing? What order are you doing them in? How many reps and sets are you doing? It doesn't matter if it's not a perfect plan, but just having some kind of idea what you're doing and what you did last week will really help you start to improve. And that will mean your FTP and max power on the bike will improve as well. As you get stronger, you need to make things harder. Speaking of making things harder though, trying not to add a comment there, let's move on to the most detrimental mistake and the final mistake we're going to go through that us cyclists make in the gym. Just not going hard enough. Let me explain. The research has shown no matter how many repetitions we do of any given exercise, we get the most strength and muscle building benefit if we go 5 or less repetitions away from failure. For example, if I did a set of 6 squats, but if I had actually tried to push and carry on past those 6, I was able to get 12, I'm just not going to be getting much benefit. However, if I did 6 squats with a weight, for example, that if I had carried on past 6 would only allow me to get 1 or 2 or up to 5 repetitions more, I would be getting the maximum benefit when it comes to strength or building muscle. So when it comes to any exercise that you do, you need to pick a weight or variation of that exercise that allows you in every working set to get no more than 5 repetitions away from failure. And failure meaning you just could not do any more repetitions of that exercise with correct form. So being not close enough to failure is such a massive mistake because it means you've gotten 95% of the way there, but you're stopping just short of getting the maximum benefit that you can get. When it comes to actually implementing this, it might take a little while for you to figure out what it is you can actually do. If you're picking 6 repetitions of an exercise, for example, it might take you a session or 2 to figure out what weight or variation of that you can do to get close enough to failure to elicit maximum strength and muscle building response. So use the 5 rep in the tank principle and make sure that at the end of each and every working set, you have no more than 5 repetitions left in the tank if you where to carry on and really push yourself. If you use that 5 reps left in the tank principle, as well as fixing all the other mistakes we've gone through today, you'd be hard pressed not to improve your FTP or max power on the bike with your strength or gym work. If you enjoyed today's video, do click here to watch a video where I go through one key exercise that all cyclists should be doing to improve their power and performance on the bike. And if you combine it with everything we've gone through today, you'll be on to a winner. Thanks so much for watching, ride strong, and I'll catch you in the next one.